Hello, my friends, and welcome to the O Wrestling Podcast. This is our very first, the inaugural, the kickoff of our Smackdown recap for December 16th, 2022. We're going to hit you with the good, the bad, and the ugly of tonight's Smackdown episode, quote unquote, live from Chicago, Illinois. Before we kick it off, let's first give a round of applause and a kudos to everyone who showed up to the arena to perform for all of us. I appreciate all the wrestlers, the trainers, everyone who went out there, the crew, specifically the crew, all the cameramen and camera women and all the production people who went out there and put on a fantastic show. You don't know how difficult it is to do live TV. I don't know either, but I'm sure it's crazy, and I don't think they get enough flowers. So before every one of these recap episodes, we're going to give some flowers to the people who put on the show, from the wrestlers to the people in the back. Now, let's hit it. The good. The World Cup final match between Ricochet and Gunther was amazing. It was a fantastic matchup. There's a thing in WWE 2K22's what's the booking thing? I don't know the name of the GM mode. There you go. In GM mode, where you have to match up opposing styles to have a good match, and I feel like Triple H did that today. He's like, put the biggest guy you can find, Gunther. Well, not the biggest, but put Gunther in there, and then put Ricochet's, high flying behind in there, and they put on a crazy banger. Ricochet pulled out all the stops. My man was flipping and kicking. He was doing some amazing kicks, crazy flips, and as usual, Ricochet can sell a move like nobody else. The man looked like he died for real. He got slammed around, and Gunther debuted a new finishing move, according to Michael Cole. I don't remember what his name for the move was, but it was basically a over the head. It was like a carry to a sidewalk slam. It was like a side slam that put Ricochet away after Ricochet kicked out from a crazy powerbomb. It was a fantastic match. I love the idea of the World Cup tournament. I like the idea of tournaments in general, giving, when you want to do long form storytelling, it doesn't only have to be in like the storyline itself. You can do it with matches, and having tournaments is a perfect way to kind of not elongate, but extend a storyline across multiple weeks, months if you want, and keep people engaged, because they're literally following a bracket, and I think they did a fantastic job. They ended up setting up a Christmas match for next week with Ricochet and Braun Strowman versus Imperium. I believe next week is taped. I'm not very sure, but we're going to get another banger of a match, and it seems like Ricochet and Braun are on their way to being a tag team for at least a bit. Okay, now, the bad. Let's hit the bad. Whew. All right, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. All right, the Bray Wyatt stuff was bad. It was bad in context with everything else, because as usual, the story is kind of dragging. It's creeping, right? On the positive side, it did move forward, and Bray Wyatt actually showed up. He got in LA Knight's face. LA Knight put boots to him, so there was an actual physical confrontation outside of like a slap to the face. And then a person who we assume is Uncle Howdy showed up and then like scared LA Knight away, apparently. LA Knight got out the ring and backed up, and then they cut to commercial. But they didn't cut to commercial before they played a laugh track for way too long in the arena. And at some point, the camera was on Bray Wyatt, who's in the corner, kind of collecting himself after getting kicked around by LA Knight. And his face, he looked very puzzled, but it wasn't puzzled as in like, let me act like I'm puzzled. He looked like he was confused why they had the laugh track going for so long. And if you look at the dude who's playing Uncle Howdy, he's also very confused as why the laugh track is going so long. So he just started fake belly laughing again. And then LA Knight, exited the arena, and then they cut to commercial. So we don't see what happened. We don't see where anyone went. Again, we're left with more questions than answers, and honestly, I'm tired of this story. It's not going great. I'm not giving up on it, but I am tired of what is being presented. I covered Bray Wyatt's storyline in an earlier episode that you can find on our YouTube channel, on Spotify or whatever. So I won't go too deep into it here, but this needs to pick up speed fast. And I'm not saying to end the storyline. I'm saying pick up speed, put some hustle behind it, and tell a more engaging story for longer instead of a very mediocre story stretched out across way too long. Okay. And for the ugly. So during the triple team match, I don't know what you call it, 3-man triple threat match between Hit Row, Viking Raiders, and man, I can't even say their names. Legado. You guys know who I'm talking about. With Zelina Vega. I'll get their names down right and I'll say it properly another time. They had a decent match. It was a little chaotic. It was kind of hard to follow. But the ugliest thing was Top Dollar, big man from Hit Row, tried to dive over the top rope into the dudes, and his foot got caught. He didn't clear the top rope. His foot got caught, and he fell forward and then slapped. I think he either slapped the guys or he missed them completely, but he braced himself on the mat, and then the rest of his body came up over the. He botched it. He botched it hard. But then everyone sold it like he hit them when he obviously didn't touch them. It was. I cringed pretty hard, and it reminded me why I kind of stopped watching wrestling matches. That stuff makes me itch, that cringe, that awkwardness of that match. I was like, oh, this is weird. But that move in particular was ugly, and it was the catalyst that kind of led to Hit Row winning that triple threat match, whatever you want to call it. And they're going on to face the Usos next week, I think, for the tag titles. Look, I appreciate the tag titles being put up and the Usos having to defend it. We all know Hit Row's not winning those titles from the Usos, not before the end of the year. There's no money in that. There's no money in them losing this month. There's only a couple more weeks in 2022. If the Usos lose it, it's either going to be at WrestleMania, SummerSlam, something big, right? Royal Rumble. And I doubt it will be to Hit Row. Not yet, anyway. They're just crawling out of the, I don't know, whatever hole they fell in after Triple H brought them back. And hopefully they rack up some wins. The L that they take from the Usos is not going to help them, but them being on the card with them and putting on a banger with them will help. Yeah, that's the good, the bad, and the ugly of tonight's Smackdown. Before we go, we'll cover some of the stuff that went down. John Cena came back. How about that? It's pretty big news, but it wasn't a good or a bad or an ugly. It's just a thing that's happening. And when I say John Cena came back, he returned in an obviously pre-taped message that they played on the Titantron, setting up a December 30th match between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and John Cena for his match of the year, basically. He's had a match every year for 22 years, and 2022 was the only year he didn't have one. So he's going to have one on the 30th of December. So we'll all tune in to see that. Huh? All right. That is the end of our SmackDown recap. Make sure you head over to What Culture Wrestling if you want a more in-depth review of SmackDown. But I just wanted to come in here and say what's up to you guys and give you something to listen to before the night is out. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your time. And remember, guys, what is it? I'm your friend.
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah!